You hear the music? Hey, good morning, everybody. It's your girl, Tracy Williams, and it is a wonderful Saturday morning. So happy that the weather is wonderful out here. I apologize off the top, you guys, for being late. One of my guests may not be joining us today. She's having a little technical trouble here this morning. So hopefully we can get her another time, okay? But I do have a special guest with me today. Just a moment, y'all can see I'm fidgeting around here. And I have Miss Lisa Bodenhausen.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
Thank you. Want to say hey to the people?
Yes, hi everybody. Thank you for joining today. It's a pleasure.
Amen. Thank you so much for being here, Lisa. I really appreciate you and all the things that you do. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about some of the things that Lisa does. And let me tell you, believe me, it's just a little bit because this lady is on the move all the time. And I'm just thankful that I was able to catch up with her while she was in town. Because if you guys know Lisa, she is like out of town a lot of times. Good morning, Patty. Thank you for joining us this morning. So good to have you here. I know it's early, but early is the early worm. What did they say? The early riser gets the worm, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, anywho, if you're joining, good morning, Wanda. So nice to see you. Wanda Booth is on here. So if you guys, as you jump on, please make sure that you say something to us so we know that you're here. If you have any questions, I'm telling you now, this is the lady to ask, okay? We're talking about something that is not the most favorite subject, something actually we like to steer away from when it comes to death or mourning or grief or any type of loss. But it is very necessary, especially for the time that we're living in. Okay, so make sure that you please share this video as much as you can. It don't cost you, it's free. Not only today, but it's free all the time. Okay, so I'm gonna hold on, Alexa, stop. Oh, if you guys know me, y'all know like I love my music. I love my gospel music. It gets me going in the morning. It gets me going in the afternoon and the evening time too. So it's just 24/7 thing. Everybody needs something to boost them up, right? So that's part of my daily self-care. Yes, thank you, Kathy, for joining us. So good to see you here this morning. She's another expert on this whole death and dying and stuff like that. So we got many experts in the house. So I'm telling you, if you're watching this on YouTube and you enjoy the information, be sure to give us a thumbs up, hit that button, and subscribe so you won't miss it again. Because we'll have another guest. If she can't join us today, she'll be joining us next time, and she has plenty of experience as well. Thank you. Oh, yes, the lovely ladies in the house. Yeah, all you guys are lovely. We love you all, and I thank you so much for your support. From this point on, beginning next Saturday, I just want to make an announcement that you guys can also catch me on doublementradio.com. So we can be heard somewhere else besides the United States. And so I'm really thankful for that. If you have been following me and know about me saying, hey, you guys, join me in the prayer of Jabez, let's go ahead and ask God up front, enlarge my territory, bless me indeed. And I know I didn't say it in the right order, but go ahead and ask him, bless me indeed, enlarge my territory, because guess what? He will do it for you. Now, y'all know, I'm inspiring hope, have only positive expectations. When you get that indeed blessing and that enlargement, you get to stretching out, it don't always feel good, right? You get those growth pains, but no matter how it feels, you can still have positive expectations. And so, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Miss Lisa in case you don't know her. If it's your first time, it's going to be a pleasure. You're going to hear some really great things that maybe you haven't heard before, things that you can do that will be really helpful for people that you know or people that you're going to meet. Okay. So she is the Community Relations Director at Horses and Heroes, Inc., one of my favorites. They do equine assisted therapy. And if you don't know what that is, it's really basically horse therapy. I love horses. I love animals, but I love horses the most. They just seem so majestic. And you know what? Typical therapy is not for everybody. Sometimes you need something a little bit different. And that's why we call it unique ways to deal with stuff. So here we go. Okay, so she's been a part of this 501c3 since, 2017. And she liked it so much. And I'm going to let her get into how she got involved in it. She liked it so much that she became certified as an equine specialist. And she's honored to be a part of that therapy team there. So that's wonderful. Hats off to her. Kudos to her. That's awesome. She's changing lives. And they specialize in helping our first responders as well as our military women and men, which is so important, so needed these days. Okay. She's also the founder and owner of Hats Off. I ain't taking mine off. Travel and Concierge. But she does so much more than that. But and we'll probably get into that another day or time. But those are the main things that she does. And so I'm just going to ask Lisa, tell us a little bit about how did you get into this whole deal about, helping people when it comes to death and loss and grief?
But I think, years and years ago, I was at a youth group camp. Our kids would go for a whole summer camp, and they had a parents meeting, a parents night. And we went, and the pastor that was working, doing the camp for the whole time, he spoke. And one of the things he said was, Jesus ministered out of his wounds right here. And so if he ministered to us out of his wounds, then we were to minister out of ours. And that our wounds and what we go through is not, they're not to be just for ourselves. It's to be shared with others. And so that's been a part of my, really, my life. So that was way before any of this happened specifically with grief. But in 2013, our oldest son, Drew, who was 28 at the time, was in a car accident. He was a passenger, and that actually hit, he was in a Corvette that hit a semi. The car burst into flames. The truck driver actually pulled Drew and they pulled Colin out as well. But and as they pulled him away, the car exploded. So we thank God every day for that truck driver. And I just want to say he has continued to be a blessing. He's the first text I get on every single holiday. And in my phone, it says, Paul, Drew's hero. And Drew had a dissected aorta. He had multiple broken ribs. He had a broken leg. But he did amazing. Prayer, support, friends, family. It was like he was called the miracle man of the ICU there. Fast forward to July, he was released for weight bearing on that leg a whole month early. He was doing great, but he was struggling breathing at times. What we found out was that he had tracheal stenosis. He had scar tissue within the trachea. So that process is you do a tracheostomy, you scrape the scar tissue and work with that. About 6 months later, you'd be, they'd be able to do the plastic surgery, and then, he would be okay. We were devastated for him, but not worried about his safety, through that. It's a procedure they do, unfortunately, at the side of the road, but that saves lives, if that makes sense. There's a specific question that anytime I have an opportunity to speak to people, I want to share. And that is always make sure your physician, anyone that's going to be working with you, your grandchildren, your friends, yourself, whatever, that they're board certified. The anesthesiologist was not board certified. He had actually failed his test multiple times. The hospital no longer hires doctors that are not, pardon?
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
The doctors no longer hire, that hospital no longer hires doctors that are not board certified because of Drew. But that particular doctor is still there. I won't share the name now, but you're welcome to private message me, and I'll be glad to share it. But that anesthesiologist made error after error after error with the surgeons standing, waiting to go in to do what's called an awake tracheostomy. And he took Drew's ability to breathe away. But after 5 additional attempts, not calling the doctor in, Drew was without oxygen for 15, 16 minutes, and he actually was brain dead. So that's where, we've been through so much heartache, but support and hope and things. And then at this point, it was the most horrific few weeks before he passed away, and praise God, we know where he is. Praise God, we know that, and we actually feel like the Lord scooped him up off the table at that point. But watching, the hardest thing is not, as a parent, not grieving yourself, but it's watching your children grieve. And that is rugged. So out of that has come, because of my own journey and my needs, really, truly, that's how ministering to others through grief became so important to me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know that's sometimes that can be a little hard.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you sharing that with us, but I know it's going to help so many people. So out of that, I know, one of the things that you and I talked about before was something special that you're doing, and I'm so excited about it. So I want you to tell us a little bit about that, because I really, truly, my heart is for us to get different ways that we can honor our loved ones, and we can honor those that we cherish, and we can remember them. So talk to us a little bit about a couple things. So kintsugi, I hope I pronounced that right.
You did.
Yes,
good job.
Thank you, Jesus. Okay. And then also about shattered treasures.
Okay. So in 2017, I actually was with some friends, and they asked me if I would consider being on the board for Horses and Heroes. And I said, absolutely, I would. Because I had a Shetland pony as a child. If his real name was Sheepy, so if you imagine what he looked like, I'm sure that's correct. However, I named him Skyrocket because I'm a visionary, So, and the only time he was fast at all was along the fence, to push me off. So I love that opportunity to be with horses. I knew how I loved them. However, when I went to visit with Julie Baker, who is the founder of Horses and Heroes, which, as you said, they're an organization that offers equine assisted therapy to veterans, first responders, and their families. Beyond that, we've developed our for-profit side called Bold Horse Solutions, so we can help all demographics. But if we go back to, I ended up spending about 3.5 hours there that day. And as I left, the first phone call I made was to my sister, who is a psychologist and is in San Diego working with veterans there. And I said, is equine therapy all that they crack up to, all that they say it is? And she said, absolutely. She said, it's one of the most impactful non-talk therapy that there is. And that's all I needed to know. I love horses and it works, it's effective. So that has carried a wonderful journey. And the fact that the people that are in the leadership there also, actually, I say this whole organization is led on its knees. And that is that's an amazing team to be a part of, So, and then, it truly is. People think, dogs are amazing therapy. Yes, they are. They absolutely are. But horses are different. Horses are very intuitive. They're prey animals. And so they're highly intuitive. So when you see a horse that is grazing, you might think they're not paying attention to anything. They know everything that's going on around them. Therefore, when people are struggling or angry, whatever the case may be, the horse will relate to that and pick up on it. And it is absolutely, it boggles my mind sometimes after sessions, and you think, oh my word, that was absolutely incredible.
I would totally agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. So
I by accident, well, it was seen by accident, got a little equine therapy myself, and that's how I fell in love with it. And I knew this is it. This is what I want to do, and this is what I want to provide for people. So it is incredible, you guys. So I'll give a short testimony. When I took my son for some equine therapy, but really I didn't know it was therapy. I just knew I was supposed to take him to learn how to ride horses. So I took him riding horses, and I met this young lady. I mean, young. So she was getting on this really big horse, and I just went and talked to her because she was by herself. I said, hey, how can you ride that big old thing by yourself? And what made you come out here? And she began to tell me that she came out there from the beginning because she hated her parents. She hated everybody around her. She couldn't stand school. She just wanted to kill herself. I said, oh my goodness. So what made you, and how many times did it take for you to start coming out here riding the horses before you start feeling differently? And she said 2 times, twice. I was like, that's it. That's double confirmation. I'm done. This is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. So I agree totally with you with that happening. And so we thank Dr. Madelyn is here with her beautiful face on the screen. I'm asking her to scoot over some.
Yay.
So I'm so excited that Dr. Madelyn is in the house, you guys. And I'm just going to introduce her a little bit. I was going to do the formal introduction, but let me just tell y'all, Dr. Madelyn, this lady is phenomenal. They call her Dr. D. I always call her Dr. Madelyn. I met her the first time. I don't even know if she remembers this or knows this, but I met her the first time at some conference in some church in Kansas City, Kansas. So I was supposed to be at my church doing over vacation Bible school, but you know what? I got to delegate, so I just delegated to everybody. I was like, I just got to go and see what this thing is about. So I went and I heard her, and I didn't even get to stay to the end. I didn't talk to her or nothing, but I said, God, if I ever see that woman, if I ever see her again, I promise you I'm going to follow her. So my husband went to sign up for Bible college, and I was like, I don't want to go to no Bible college, you know. And then lo and behold, Dr. Madelyn was there. I was like, what you teaching? I was not even being polite and, hey, what's your name? None of that. I was just like, what you teaching? That's all I want to know. And then she told me youth ministry. I said, I want to take that because I got a youth ministry in my home. And I just started going on and on. And if you know me, you know I'm on 10 a lot of times, right? Yeah. So I just started going on. And I was like, whatever she's teaching next, I'm taking that. And so my husband looks and he's like, I thought you didn't want to go to Bible college. I said, I know I don't, but I want to follow this lady right here. So she is like awesome, you guys. So I'll formally introduce her a little bit later, but I want to make sure that we stay in kind of some guidelines of our time because I don't want to take advantage of your time, but I want Lisa to tell us a little bit more about other things that she does that helps out because we know equine therapy can be one thing that's awesome that works for some, but there's some other things that she does too. So talk to us a little bit about those things, Lisa.
Absolutely. And a little bit of a preface to this is everyone deals with grief differently. There is no right or wrong. There is no rules to go by. There are general steps that are talked about that I believe everyone goes through at some point of their journey. But there truly is no right or wrong. And so as I share these things, I don't want anyone to think that their journey is, that my journey is the only way to do this. I want to preface that. Because quite frankly, after Drew passed away, what I did was I just zoomed. I mean, I just kept so busy. And the busier I could be, then I think it was a way that I wouldn't think, but they talk about like grief fog. Yeah, well, there's grief fog, and so I was extremely busy, but I didn't get a whole lot done. I said I was a lot like Pigpen on Peanuts, I kicked up a lot of dust, but I didn't get a whole lot done. And so as I went forward with things and just tried to manage things on my own, I needed to reach out to someone for some therapy. I did. So I did start seeing a counselor, and that I highly recommend that people find someone that they can connect with. And there's places all over Kansas City that can offer things for free or as groups. And, please just reach out to me if you have questions or whatever. Don't try to walk this journey alone. I am so blessed. Our family is so blessed. We have friends and family that have continued to support and pray and walk with us through this. And I pray everyone has that and that type of support because it's so important. But one day, well, actually twice in 1 week, you know how when God's tapping you on the shoulder and he's like, hello, and you might miss it the first time, but pretty soon it gets a little louder. So there was 3 things that happened to like solidify this. But twice in 1 week I heard, if if you've lost your parents, you're an orphan. If you've lost your spouse, you're a widow or a widower. But if you've lost a child, there is no name for that. And I thought, well, there will be, because there has to be. And the only thing I could come up with that truly signifies what is that you're shattered. Everything about your life shatters, but you put yourself back together, but it never looks the same. So I always say that I've pictured myself having duct tape and caulk and glue and pieces missing. And, I could see a vessel, but it was just shattered and kind of messy, And again, let me stop one moment and say, if you've lost a parent, a husband, a wife, someone very close to you, and it's not a child, I am not diminishing that loss in any way, because I've lost my parents as well, and my grandparents, so I know, but I just don't want that to come across there either. But I kept trying to come up with names for shattered, like different languages, different things, and I couldn't come up with anything. And I was having a coffee with a lady one day, and I shared it with her. She's an author. And I said, what would this be? Well, she knew Drew as well. And she said, kintsugi. I said, what the heck is kintsugi? And she said, let me show you. And she pulled it up. It's a Japanese art form that is broken pottery fixed with gold. And when she showed it to me, I was like, that's it. So now those veins or those brokenness that are filled in with the gold, those are the memories. And instantly it was like workshops. We're going to do kintsugi workshops. We're going to let people come. So we developed Shattered Treasures, and we actually have people donate items like vases or teapots or cups or little bowls or what have you. And then we take a picture of them in its entirety. And then we tap them and we break them, and we have the pieces within a pretty little box, so people can see what it looked like. They can choose that as a way to honor their child or what it reminds. And then as we are putting these back together and making them beautiful, there is a counselor, a grief specialist that actually will lead us through that, and we're sharing about our child, and those memories become actually beautiful. And so Shattered Treasures was put in place. It's also a place where, for us, Drew loved shoes, absolutely loved shoes. He was a great big football player, but growing up, he was stocky. And a lot of his friends were thin and stuff. So he got some ridicule. He couldn't wear those cool jeans a lot when he was in grade school. So we focused on his shoes, and he continued to love shoes throughout his adult life. So we do shoe drives in Drew's honor all the time, but someone else might want to do something different, but they don't know what to do, how to do it, who to contact. And that's something that it just blesses me to my feet if I can help them come up with some way to honor their child. So that's a part of Shattered Treasures. And then again, offering resources that people can use.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. I know that's something I never heard of before, so I figure some other people may not have heard of that before. So I'm going to introduce our other guest formally the right way. Dr. Madelyn Douglas, finally known as Dr. D. She's been a youth director and a trainer for over 35 years in the greater Kansas City area. Work with youth. She's been the director at Niles Home for Children for quite some time.
Nice.
She is a certified marriage and family counselor, and she's a life coach. She's a playwright and author, and I love the title of her book. And I'm gonna let her tell you guys the title because I don't want to mess it up. She's also an ordained minister of the gospel, and most importantly, she's a mother and a grandma.
Yeah.
So, Dr. D, as Lisa was talking, she mentioned something about the fog that sometimes you go through. Can you tell us a little bit about like your experience, like when your husband passed away? And because I remember when we were at the funeral, you were just, making sure everybody else was okay and accommodating other people and stuff. And so talk to us a little bit about that and how we can handle that, and move over so we can see your pretty face.
Okay, so
There we
which
go.
way I go?
Yes, yes, yes.
There we
There we
go.
go.
There we go.
Yes.
We're in it. I kept wondering, where are you? Good morning, and thank you, Tracy, for inviting me. And I'd just like to say to our other guests, I truly enjoyed hearing what you were doing, because I remember when the young people from Niles were going through grief and behavior problems, we took them to horse therapy, and
Nice.
it really did them some good. So I could identify really well with that. I'm still trying to get in the middle of this. I think I finally did. So yes, I am under that category of a widow, and it took me a long time to even say that word, because I wasn't gonna be no widow. I lost my husband died. Tell me when I'm in the middle. Okay.
You're good. Hold it still. You're good.
Okay.
Just go ahead. We're ready.
Um, when my husband died, it was really, really, really a hard time for me, because I don't know if a lot of people knew I've been married almost 40 years. I've been married. This is driving me crazy not being in the middle. Sure. Let
Just
me
hold.
let me get
You're good. Stay there.
okay. Because I don't see myself. Okay. So I'm making it. There we go.
We can
Okay. So
see
when
you.
my husband died, I had been married um 39, almost 40 years. And I got married at 19 years old. And I know a lot of people say getting married that young. Okay. So by the time she's about 21, 22, they'll be divorced. But we made it. And we made it through the storm. We made it through the rain, and everything wasn't always peaches and cream. A lot of people try to act as though their marriage was this, that, and the other. But we made it, and we were good. We were good, and our children had finally gotten grown. Empty nest syndrome time, when all of a sudden he started to get sick and not look like himself, and make up all kind of things to me about why he was looking like he was looking. And I'm like, you just don't look good. You just don't look good. And because he's always kind of this robust guy, basketball playing guy, and he just kind of started laying around. And to find out that he had stage 4 cancer. And by the time he got to see about it, from the point that he went into the hospital on a Sunday, 6 weeks later on another Sunday, he was gone. And he died. We didn't even have time to think about it, didn't have time to get ready for it. We were in the hospital just trying to hope he got well. And to add, probably, as some might say, insult to injury, he died on my birthday. I thought I was going to die too. I thought I wasn't going to make it. But when I wrote my book, part of one of the chapters in my book is about my husband. And I want everybody out there to know there is life after death. There is life after death. And I want to thank our guests for talking about. I am a counselor. And sometimes it's hard for a doctor to go to a doctor. It's hard for the beautician to go get her hair done, And so as a counselor, I thought I'm a crisis counselor. I'm not just a counselor. I teach crisis counseling. So I thought I had it all together. I could, surely I didn't taught all the steps, how to make it through. And I'm telling you, I couldn't remember not a one. I didn't know how to navigate this. This was too much for me. And I did go and get counseling. And I thanks God so much that I didn't try to use what I thought I knew, that I teach to others, to try to teach it or try to walk through this journey by myself, because I realized that my children now we're going to need somebody to help navigate. And I couldn't help anybody sick. At the funeral, I come from a large family, Tracy. And I'm the second of 19 children. And I'm like mama sister. I ain't just sister. So I'm kind of, and then I knew there were a lot of Niles Home people there. I knew there were a lot of the people I'd mentored there, students. It was just kind of packed. And I kind of took on this attitude: if I drop a tear, if I cry, all my whole front row, all my siblings is just gonna fall out in the floor and have a fit because I'm crying. So I just kind of got strong, held on, and stayed still. And I don't always suggest that to people. If you're feeling like you should drop a tear, drop it. I just thought I had to be strong. I had to hold on. And as a result, I went through some little emotional challenges after that. That's what made me go and get a counselor. And it was so funny when I went to the counselor, I didn't have any idea who I was going to. I just went to a grief counselor. Get there, that counselor was one of my former students who kept saying, now we're gonna ask Dr. Douglas a few questions, but I'm like, I didn't ask, I'm sick. I didn't come to the prayer line to pray. I came to the prayer line to get the prayer. So I'm so glad that I did that and made it through that. And I tell you, God is a keeper. And now 9 years later, that's been 9 years. Now 9 years later, I'm well. I'm well because I walked through the steps. I didn't act like I wasn't in pain. I didn't act like I was superwoman and I could do this all by myself. I surrounded myself with a wonderful team of people. And Niles Home was a great help. The children at Niles Home, sometimes it's good to be around kids. Because kids don't, they almost knocked me down when I came back in the door, hugging me. And I was like, I am not going to be able to do this. But those kids made it all right. So I thank God I made it through that season of my life. And I write and I help widows in this season, men and women, how to make it through that season of life.
Well, I didn't know I was going to be, I'm sorry, I know I'm speechless. I didn't know I was going to be remembering that day like it happened all over again.
Yeah.
But
I thank God for people like you, Tracy. You guys don't know how much it was meant to me when I looked up and I seen everybody. It was as though everybody's presence around me was like a coat, because it was the coldest winter day. It was it seemed like it was colder than ever. And it's just like I was cloaked with people's presence. And that's a blessing. I'm grateful for that. I know my co-host here can identify with the fact that, you need people. Yeah, you need people. And I'm grateful that people didn't leave me. Sometimes people will walk you all the way to the funeral. And then they get their hats and their coats, and then you go back home in that door all by yourself. All by yourself. But I had one of my craziest sisters who she wouldn't have been the sister I chose to stay. She would not go home. She stayed right with me. She laid beside the bed. She did all kind of, and I love her to this day. For she's the only sister that's not married. And she just stayed there. She wasn't going nowhere. We gonna watch a movie together. I look up, she's snoring, sleep in the bed. I'm thinking, you need to go home. But when she finally did go home, I missed her. I really missed her presence. And I'm so grateful for all of you all who helped me through that season. And it is my journey. It is a part of my kingdom assignment to help others through that journey.
Yes. And I love that about the title of your book. So can you just tell us the title of your book?
Well, the title of my book, and if I can hold it up here, I do have it. You won't miss it because my big mug is right on the front of the book. And the title of my book is After This. And I wrote this book because for many reasons. I did not write this book as my journey after my husband died. It just became a part of a chapter in the book. I actually wrote this book. I started writing this book years before he died. It just didn't make it to publication.
I remember that. We were bugging you. We were like, when you coming out with that book?
I know, and I kept saying, y'all need to leave me alone about that book because y'all making it too long. Y'all making me scared to write. Everybody's waiting with bated breath. And what if it ain't good? Maybe it ain't good. But anyway, really why I wrote this book is because I saw ministers. One of my first loves is ministry. And I saw young ministers, old ministers, and a lot of ministers trying to minister. And their process of being prepared to minister to me, in my estimation, was not complete.
Right.
And so I've always been fascinated with the butterfly. I've always been fascinated because when my son was in the 7th grade, he had to do a project on a butterfly. And we had to make this butterfly from a caterpillar all the way. We had to do all kind of things. I remember getting pantyhose, making the cocoon so you could see through it and all of that. And as I did that, I thought about this journey of this butterfly is all of our journey to our completion of whatever we're going to do before we're ready to fly. And I saw too many people trying to do ministry making crash landings because they were trying to fly without wings.
Mm-hmm.
They were still grounded and with a Bible up under their arms. So I wrote this book as a part of understanding how tests, trials, and crises and the process of preparation get us ready for our call in life. Whatever that call is, if it's in your vocation, if it's in ministry, or whatever it is. And so I titled it after this because I didn't want them to get hung up at the process. I wanted them to know if you make it through the process, there's a wonderful lesson for you waiting after this. And I use that scripture that says, weeping may endure for a night season, but after this, joy will come in the morning. Don't get in the process, because the process sometimes, hi honey, my husband, you need to keep in touch with you. No, he's my son. That's my son. Anyway, and so I also use the scripture that says, and why is it slipping? 1 Peter 5:10, it says, after that we have suffered for a little while, the God of all grace will establish us. He will stabilize us. He will give us all that we need to be all that we need to be for our kingdom assignment, or for whatever it is we were born to do. I just wanted people to know, because people don't want to hear about the process. I don't want to hear about no more suffering. I don't want to hear about no more struggling, embracing processes and all of that. But in order to be anything you're going to be, you cannot jump from kindergarten to the 12th grade. You got to go to the first grade, second grade, third grade, if you're going to be something. So I was trying, my appeal was to you that after it's all said and done, you're going to be wonderful. You really are going to fly. After the butterfly goes through the caterpillar stage, the cocoon stage, the wrestling, trying to get up out of that cocoon stage, he can't go do nothing until he's big enough or strong enough. I don't know. And he's pretty. You can actually see him through the cocoon. And a portion of my book I write, many people have saw a great big old, because you can go to places and see, if you see a butterfly lying in a nest, you can see that his wings are already on him. You can see his beautiful colors and everything. But because you can see through there and see all that, don't mean he's ready. And a lot of people have cut people out of, they cut a butterfly out and let him out of there, thinking that they're letting them free from that struggle. I'm just setting you free from the struggle, only to cripple him and cause him to, not be able to fly. And I've seen a lot of churches, because ministers come in and I'm ready to go. Yeah, they get excited about what they see on the outside, and they have not let the inside of them finish, haven't let God's process and suffering get you ready for that. You might not want to believe it. Crises. People need to understand that COVID-19 is a cocoon situation. This crisis, God ain't sleep on this crisis. He knew it was coming. He knew it was coming. He knew that he was going to shut the sanctuary down and send the church home and send us home to get prepared for the next season of our lives. Because some of us were never going to do it right in our robotic state at the church. So we need to go home and get the presence of God and let COVID is going to dry up someday. This pandemic, it won't be here always. But I hope that people have been cocooning in with God and getting prepared for their after this. After this is over, you're going to fly. You're going to be who God wants you to be, and you're going to be prepared. So that's kind of what my book is. That's my process in there. I'm talking to widows about after they go through the grief period. After you feel like it's over, that's what the devil kind of whispered in my ear when my husband died, because he was a great provider, great. What you going to do now? You all by yourself, kids grown and gone, grandkids are up, teenagers and gone off to college, and what you gonna do now? But I tell you, it has been a wonderful ride, and God has not forgotten me. God has not forgotten me. And even if God sends me a new husband, I don't know, he may send me a new husband. I don't know. It took me a long time to even think about a new husband, because I was still so Mrs. Larry Douglas. But now I think I'm ready, and I think I'll be an even better wife after this, because I learned some things. I've learned to be a better wife. I've learned, I was young, 19 years old. I'm almost 68.
Yeah.
Hey, who
Get
knows?
it, girl.
Get it, girl. Get it. Whatever.
Oh, you looking
We'll
good
see.
though.
We'll
Well,
see.
I really
We'll
appreciate
see. I'll
everything.
ask Sherman. I see if Sherman will permit that. Is that all right, Sherman? What's Sherman gonna ask it? Are we on live?
Husband, will you permit that? Of
We on
course.
live TV.
What's happening?
We'll talk to you about it. I'll see. Ain't nobody around. So I have to get ready. You know what? And I say to women, don't jump up and just jump out of one thing. Get your healing. Don't take your unhealed self into, because if you're unhealed, you're going to attract what you are.
That's
You're going to
right.
attract somebody that's unhealed too. And the two of you unhealed people are going to make an unhealed mess.
That's right.
So I want to be healed. I want to be whole. And I want to attract healed and wholeness to my life. So it's okay. I'll wait till that time. So, and then after this, I'll be ready. I'll be ready.
Amen.
God.
Well, listen, ladies, our time is up, and I appreciate you, both of you guys, and everything that you shared, you brought to the table. It's my hopes that you all are able to have a new network of somebody that you can lock arms with.
Yeah.
If you see somebody on the post that made, a comment that you like or you agree with, make sure that you friend that person. We all need each other. Both of our experts here have told us one thing they have in common is they both have to reach out to somebody else. We all need somebody. We all got to start to lock into one another and cocoon ourselves, as Dr. D said, with the lover of our soul and the lifter of our head, the only one that can really heal us and make us whole again. And whoever that is to you, to me, that's Jesus. You can call him God, whatever it is. Lock in and get loaded and know that, you know what, there's life after this.
There is
and
life
this
after
is not
this.
the end, because joy will come in the morning.
It will.
And that goes along with inspiring hope to have only positive expectations.
Yeah.
Positive expectations. So I will see you guys next time. We love you so much. God bless you all. Peace out.
Thank you for inviting me, Tracy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. God bless you.
so
God
much.
bless your ministry. All right. Bye-bye.